It's actually insane how much more FPS I'm getting just from that one setting. That's incredible. What's up guys, it's Makai Typhoon here, and today I'm bringing you the ultimate FPS guide. In this video I'm going to show you settings for your Windows settings, your driver settings, and of course your in-game settings so that you can boost your FPS as much as possible. This works for if you're on PC or console. I'll put on some timestamps so that people who are on console can skip straight to the part that actually applies to them. Just before I get into the video, I just want to say thank you so much for everyone who has subscribed and liked my previous videos. We're nearly at 200 subscribers, so if you could do me a huge favour, click the subscribe button down below, click the notification bell, and click the like button. And with that said, let's get straight into this video. Okay guys, so the first thing that you need to do is you need to make sure that you download your latest drivers for your graphics card. So the first thing that I'd do, if you have an Nvidia graphics card, then I'd go to the GeForce Experience app. If you haven't got this, then you can find out how to go get it, or you can do it in the way that I'm going to show secondly after this. But you come to this app, you click on drivers at the top, and then you have available GeForce Game Ready driver, release date 26th of the 1st, 2021. I haven't downloaded this yet, so just for the sake of this video, I'm going to do it now. You just download it. It takes a little bit of time to download the driver, and then you've got the latest drivers, and that's all you need to do. And the other way that you can do this is come over to Google and then just type in Nvidia GeForce Drivers. Then make sure you click onto the Nvidia website, and then you can find your particular driver. So click on which one you're on. So if you're on the RTX 30 series, click onto that, and then click on which card you have. So if you're lucky enough to have the 3090, start search, find your drivers, and then you can just manually install your drivers this way. They'll all appear. Make sure you find the latest one, click on it, download it, and then you have the latest drivers. Okay, so now what you need to do is come over to the Nvidia control panel. Now if you don't have an Nvidia graphics card, then I'll put a timestamp on the screen and you can just skip straight to this and go on to the next tips and tricks. Okay, so once you're over on this screen, you need to make sure that you're on the Manage 3D settings, and then on the Program to Customize, you have Fortnite selected. If you don't have Fortnite in this list, then just click Add, find Fortnite, and then you can get it to appear here. Now the first thing that you need to do is basically go on this low latency mode and then click on ultra low latency, and that will just mean that you're playing on basically with no pre-rendered frames, and it just means it will render it a lot quicker. Okay, so the next thing that you need to do is make sure that you go down to the monitor technology, which is right here, and then you just click on G-Sync compatible. You then also need to put on your power management mode and just make sure you put prefer maximum performance. On your texture filtering quality, which is down here, you just want to set that also to high performance. You then want to come to vertical sync and then just turn that off. You don't want your vertical sync on. You want to also enable your threaded optimization. You want to set your preferred refresh rate here to highest available, and then you want to apply these changes. Once you've applied these changes, you then want to go over to adjust desktop size and position. Once you're on here, you just want to make sure that this checkbox here is clicked, so the override the scaling mode set by games and programs, and then just apply that. Okay guys, so now we come on to the actual game settings. Now these things can be optimized for both PC and console, although there is of course a limit that console can actually achieve for FPS. So the first thing to look at is down here, and that's the graphics quality. And the main things you want to look at on here is from view distance down to post-processing. Now I'd recommend that you have everything on off or low except from the view distance. Now for the view distance, I wouldn't have it on Epic if you're on a low-end PC, but if you're on a high-end PC that can handle it, I'd definitely have it on Epic. And that's just because it basically renders in players and items which are further away. So if you have it on Epic, you'll render in an item or a player quicker than you will if you're on a lower end PC. Now that doesn't mean that someone who's on a high end PC can see someone from really far away before someone on a low end can. It just means that the actual quality of that item or player will render in later than it would on a high end PC. So basically having the view distance as a higher setting, it kind of gives you a very small advantage in gameplay. The main thing that I find when I have a high view distance is just that I can view items from further away, which is kind of nice. If you can see something blue or purple, you don't have to run straight up to it to actually see what it is. You can look at it from a far distance and see if it's actually even worth going for. So if you're on a high-end PC, definitely try and get this as high as possible. If you're on a low-end PC, I'd probably say maybe go for medium or far. Just test it out and see how much FPS you get from this, and then just go with it. Okay, now we come on to some of the more interesting settings, and that's in this advanced graphics section. So the first option here is the VSync option, and this basically stops your screen from having any screen tearing. Now this is actually quite a good setting, and if you do get real issues with screen tearing and you want to turn it on, I don't have an issue with that. But if we're talking about getting the absolute max performance, then have this VSync option off. Motion blur, I would have it off personally, just because it looks weird to me, but that doesn't affect your FPS, so I'm not too bothered by that. Then you've just got show FPS, again optional on that. Then you have your rendering mode here. So we'll go into performance mode a little bit more later on in this video, but basically you've got DirectX 11 and DirectX 12, which is in the beta mode at the moment. Now I play on DirectX 11, and that's because I've tried out DirectX 12 and it actually makes my game kind of laggy, it stops constantly, and I actually just find DirectX 11 runs way better. And my PC is quite a high-end PC, so I'm not sure what sort of PC you'd have to make DirectX 12 work. But if you have a really good PC, it might be worth it, and you might get a performance boost from DirectX 12. But I personally just recommend sticking with DirectX 11. Play around with this yourself, see if it works with your PC, and see if you can actually get more of a boost from DirectX 12. Again, with performance mode, obviously it does give you a boost, and we'll go into that a little bit later where I'll actually test it out in this video, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so the next thing that we come on to is allow multi-threaded rendering, and basically what this means is if your CPU has multiple cores, then you can split the work that your CPU has to do over those multiple cores. So if you're wondering what a core actually is, it's basically a small CPU or processor that's built into a big CPU or CPU socket. Now you can find out how many cores your CPU has just by simply searching it on the internet, and you'll be able to find out exactly how many it has. If you have multiple cores, I would probably recommend turning this on. I'm not sure how many cores you need to actually make it worthwhile, so if you've got multiple cores, turn it on, give it a try, see if you get an FPS boost, and if you don't, then turn it off. But if you can have this option on and it works, it is really useful, and it really helps your performance. So the next option is the use GPU crash debugging. Have this off because it will actually affect performance if you have it on, so I definitely wouldn't recommend that. So now onto these last four options. Now these last four options won't be for everybody, it's only for people who have Nvidia video cards and the latest drivers. So make sure that you follow the tips at the start of the video in terms of downloading the latest drivers, and of course you won't see these if you don't have an Nvidia card, so ignore this part of the video. I'll put a timestamp on the screen so when you go past this for the people who don't have an Nvidia card. The next one is your latency markers. Now latency markers, basically it gives you a little option at the top where your FPS is, and it basically just tells you how much input delay you have. So it's actually really useful if you're trying to test out your game, so you should probably do this whilst you're trying out all the settings that I'm showing you in this video. Turn this on, jump into creative, see what your latency level's at, and if you're getting less latency, then obviously that is a lot better. So don't have this on all the time because it's just unnecessary, but when you're testing out these settings, definitely have it on. You then have this option, which is the Nvidia Reflex Low Latency. Now I'm not going to go into detail about what this actually does and how it works, but Jerian has a really good video which I'm going to link down below, and basically I'd recommend that you have this on plus boost, and I'll link that video down below because Jerian actually tells you some of the other settings that you should use alongside this, and he explains it in a much better way than I ever possibly could. So go out, watch that video, turn this on and optimize it to use this on plus boost option. You then have this latency flash button, and this is another one where you can just measure your system latency. Again, I'd have this off for the most part unless you're actually testing out your settings, then I'd recommend possibly having it on. This final option here is the DLSS option. Now not everybody will have this, it's only people who have the Nvidia RTX graphics card, and I have one of those, so I do have this option here. But basically you have performance, balance and quality. I've tested out all of these myself and I haven't actually got more FPS from any of them, but from the research that I've done, I think that this actually only really affects your FPS if you're using higher quality graphics in game. So if you have a lot of these higher, then it's possibly worth doing performance, balance or quality. But if you're trying to get the absolute max performance, I'd actually recommend having this off and having these as low as you possibly can. Okay, we've just jumped into this creative match, and all I'm going to do, I'm just going to look up into the sky and just see how much FPS that I'm actually getting on this. So it looks like it's around 550, maybe high end of 580, and that's how much I'm getting not on performance mode. So I'm just going to quit the game and then jump back in on performance mode and see how much that we get. Now we're back on performance mode, so let's see how much FPS we're going to get. Oh my god, that is actually insane. That is actually insane how much. It's literally like over 100 frames. That's insane how much FPS I'm getting there. So performance mode is clearly giving the best performance from all of the settings, and it's clearly the best thing if you want to get a boost in FPS. However, Epic recently added an update to performance mode which changes the textures, and if you now look at the builds, they just look absolutely horrible. I mean, just look at when I build a box here, you can barely actually see through the builds, and it actually makes performance mode a bit more of a hindrance. So in terms of actual performance and FPS boost, yes, it is better, but I actually don't recommend using it unless Epic reverts that update. So if Epic reverts the update and it goes back to what it was before when it first got released, then this is one of the best things Epic have added in a long time, and I would definitely recommend using it. And if you do have a low-end PC, I would still probably say use it because the FPS boost will be beneficial to you. But hopefully Epic will make the right decision and revert that update, and we'll have the good performance mode back again soon. And that's it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please make sure you leave a like down below, and of course subscribe to the channel with the notification bell on, and that way you'll be notified of all of my future videos. All of my social medias are down in the description below. Make sure you go down there, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and of course subscribe to me on YouTube. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.